So I thought of a cool idea. A lot of the old school mixing systems use 16 tracks. So what I've done here is simulate that concept, but add a little bit of variety to it. So what I've done is create 16 tracks of audio, and each track has a bandpass equalizer on it, or filter. And so this one would be the high, this one would be the high mid. So each of these settings is different, and you could sort of adjust where the frequency, quote unquote, crossover would be. The next one would be mid, and the next one would be low. Now, in this case, I was just doing by group, like drum section, bass section, backing, and vocal section, using the same formula of high, high, mid, mid, and low. However, you could additionally use different kinds of arrangements, obviously. So it doesn't have to be in those particular groups. It could be more tracks, et cetera, et cetera. But it was a basic idea to sort of splice these concepts up so that you have a way to pass a saturation system. And now this is one way to do this, to achieve like analog simulation to the nth degree. But of course, you could use other kinds of DSP to create additional wild sound design concepts. But think of how powerful this is, that we have something like a tape simulator here, which is the Oxford Inflator, which to me does a little bit more than that. It's adding this old school analog warmth, basically, especially when you have the effect all the way up. You know, you can band split it, you can change the curve. And so if I drop a drum loop in here, I can change all the sections of the drum loop or drum section, you know, so that each one of them has a different setting for the inflator. That's one effect. Okay, so then you could have something like an exciter, or you know, whatever other kinds of processes you want to do. So really, the sky is the limit in terms of what you could do with subtle modulation of each of these channels. So that's the idea, and I've tried it on a few mixes. So I have 16 inflators, and then I go into groups for each of these channels here. So these 4 channels go into this aux channel. These 4 channels go into this aux channel. You can, of course, add additional limiters. So, you know, really the amount of tracks you want per, you know, grouping, that's up to you, how many effects you want on those tracks. I mean, so that's just the basic idea behind this. And I already tried it on a few mixes, and it was really a very cool result. And it makes mixing different. You may have to reconsider how you treat, you know, phase and things like that. But basically, when I did that with this, I was able to adjust things very differently. So I have a full track here, like of a drum loop, but it's only going to process the high. So I can adjust the high in a totally different way by changing just this high range instead of worrying about EQing it. And the high has its very own dedicated inflator. Now, or any other analog simulation effect, or any other kind of effect that would get you what you want. So you could also do this with multi-band crossovers, but it's a little different process. And I really just wanted to have a way to have like a hard control that I can understand, to be able to quickly dial down. So if I hear that the high is too high in the drum section, I can quickly come over here and just go like this and change that amount of the high. If it was taking too much of the high out, I could come over here and finesse how much of the bandpass filter I wanted for that high section. So, you know, when you get into high mid, you have to open up 2 processes, the low pass and the high pass, so you can kind of finesse what exactly you want to call the high mid. This goes on and on, but I just wanted to share this template for mixing, basically.